Yashodanandana Vraj. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Tatra Prasamsadbihi Pati Vaimanikaihi Surahi Avakiryamanaha Dadrishe Kusumahi Kramasaha Grahan Tatra Tatra Prasamsadbihi Pati Vaimanikaihi Surahi Avakiryamano Dadrishe Kusumai Krasamo Grahan Tatra Tatra Prasamsadbihi Pati Vaimanikaihi Surahi Avakiryamano Dadrishe Kusumai Kramaso Grahan Tatra Tatra Prasamsadbihi Pati Vaimanikaihi Surahi Avakiryamano Dadrishe Kusumai Krasamo Grahan Vaishnavis. Tatra tatra, here and there, prasamsadbihi, by persons engaged in the praise of Dhruva Maharaj, Pati, on the path, Vaimanikahi, carried by different types of airplanes, Surahi, by the demigods, Avakiryamanaha, being covered, Dadrushe, Kutsi, Kusumahi, by flowers, Kramasaha, one after another, Grahan, all the planets of the solar system. Translation. While Dhruva Maharaj was passing through space, he gradually saw all the planets of the solar system, and on the path he saw all the demigods in their airplanes, showering flowers upon him like rain. Please repeat. While Dhruva Maharaj was passing through space, he gradually saw all the planets of the solar system, and on the path he saw all the demigods in their airplanes, showering flowers upon him like rain. Purport by Zivangre Sesi Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. There is a Vedic version, Yasmin Vidyate Sarvamevam Vidyatam Bhavati, which means that by knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything becomes known to the devotee. Similarly, by going to the planet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can know all the other planetary systems on the path to Vaikuntha. We should remember that Dhruva Maharaj's body was different from our bodies. While boarding the Vaikuntha airplane, his body changed to a completely spiritual golden hue. No one can surpass the higher planets in a material body. But when one gets a spiritual body, he can travel not only to the higher planetary system of this material world, but even to the still higher planetary system known as Vaikuntha Loka. It is well known that Narada Muni travels everywhere, both in the spiritual and material worlds. It should be noted also that while Suniti was going to Vaikuntha Loka, she also changed her body into a spiritual form. Like Sri Suniti, every mother should train her child to become a devotee like Dhruva Maharaj. Suniti instructed her son, even at the age of 5 years, to be unattached to worldly affairs and to go to the forest to search out the Supreme Lord. She never desired that her son remain at home comfortably without ever undertaking austerities and penances to achieve the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Every mother, like Suniti, must take care of her son and train him to become a brahmachari from the age of 5 years and to undergo austerities and penances for spiritual realization. The benefit will be that if her son becomes a strong devotee like Dhruva, certainly not only will he be transferred back home, back to Godhead, but she will also be transferred with him to the spiritual world. Even though she may be unable to undergo austerities and penances in executing devotional service. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavansya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Sagunatam Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakam Vitansya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhubhyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In this chapter, Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead. This is the conclusion here being given in a few slokas, how Dhruva Maharaj gave up his mortal body and assumed a spiritual form after the arrival of the Vaikuntha airplane and the two assistants of Lord Vishnu, Nanda and Sunanda. They had been sent by the Supreme Lord to pick up Dhruva and take him back to the spiritual kingdom. So now, after obeisances, Dhruva Maharaj paid obeisances to the two associates and to the great rishis who happened to be there at that time, and also to the airplane itself. Of course, spiritual airplane is different from a material airplane that has been described in the previous slokas. It can travel everywhere. It is also part of the spiritual world, and it is endowed with all transcendental qualities. So in this way, Dhruva Maharaj has stepped over death. Death had come to take away his body, and he took advantage of the presence of death and climbed the airplane, stepping upon the head of death. So then he inquired from Nanda Sunanda, what about my mother? I want to go along with my mother. I don't want to go alone. So Nanda Sunanda replied that your mother already has taken another airplane and she is on the way. So in this way, the departure of Dhruva Maharaj has been described. And in this sloka, how the travel is going on. Throughout the universe, the plane is going higher and higher to higher dimensions of space. As the spiritual sky is on the top portion of the universe, on the way from this middle planetary system to the spiritual world, Dhruva Maharaj could see all the other planets in between. Just like if we go to a particular place, such as Calcutta, New Delhi, then we can see on the way so many other villages and cities. But we are not interested to stop and take time to visit these different cities on the way. We are eager to achieve the final destination, whatever it may be. We have already kept in mind that my destination is either Calcutta or New Delhi. So I don't want to waste time and go to other places on the way. So similarly, the devotees like Dhruva Maharaj, they see these heavenly planets, and even though heavenly planets are compared to this earth planet, hundreds of times more pleasant, with their beautiful villages or beautiful gardens, and the inhabitants also very beautiful, and they are riding their airplanes and so on. All types of facilities are made available in these heavenly planets. But Dhruva Maharaj was just fixed up in going back to Godhead in this way. So that is the quality of determination and vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana. The Lord Krishna says that the devotees of the Lord are one-pointed in their determination. Their intelligence is not spread over. It is one-pointed, focused on the ultimate goal. That is the quality of Dhruva Maharaj. But anyway, the demigods are very happy to welcome this transcendental airplane with Dhruva Maharaj, and they are showering flowers on this airplane and on Dhruva Maharaj. So in this way, they are welcoming him to go to higher and higher planets. So on the way, in this way, they are receiving Dhruva Maharaj. So this is the discussion in this particular sloka. So we can understand there are many different planets are there in the universe. The modern astronomers and scientists, they are unable to understand that how many planets are there and how these planets are being situated properly and what is the life in these other planets. The yogis, they can transfer themselves to higher planets. Srila Prabhupada, the first book, Easy Journey to Other Planets, he composed a book in India before going to America in the 1950s. And so to explain how there are many different types of planets and one can, by practice of yoga, can transfer himself. At that time, of course, it was a great race for going to other planets. America, Russia, they were in competition. And Srila Prabhupada wrote that book. What is this competition? Thousands of years ago, this type of travel was already done. So what are you doing now? It's just a repeated version of what happened many thousands of years ago in India specifically. So that is the glory of the Vedic civilization. How to transfer oneself to another planet. There is no need of this mechanical arrangement. By mechanical arrangements, such as the modern Sputniks and other devices, you cannot go very far, cannot go very high. You need subtle type of arrangement because the heavenly planets are subtle. As we go higher and higher dimension, then it becomes more subtle, higher and higher. So these mechanical airplanes are not qualified. They are not capable to reach the heavenly planets. They can at the most fly maybe a few 100 kilometers higher in the stratosphere, but not go to the heavenly planets. So sometime I remember that because there was a lot of propaganda from 1962 and then I think maybe 71. 71 was the first, they made a publicity of going to the moon. So these American astronauts supposedly had gone to the moon at that time. So a lot of publicity was there. And even Srila Prabhupada also was aware of this publicity. And some of his disciples, like Purushottam, he had seen this TV report that the man landing on the moon, a small step for a man, big step for mankind. That was the publicity and propaganda. So in this way, it was publicized of the arrival of man onto the moon planet. But I remember in November 72, along with Srila Prabhupada, we were on a parikrama of Vrindavan. So when we came to Madan Mohan temple, Prabhupada looked at the sky, and it was a full moon day, Purnima, Kartik Purnima, very auspicious day. And Prabhupada looked at the moon, very bright, very, very beautiful moon in the sky. And then he stopped walking. He said, "You see the moon? How bright it is, how it reflects the sunlight. And in this way it is very bright and shining so beautifully." And these astronauts, they're supposed to have gone there, and they brought a rock. That rock is being exhibited in Washington at some museum, and that rock is very dull. It is very dark and dull, cannot reflect anything, any light whatsoever. And they claim that this rock has come from the moon. This is the proof. We have the proof. We have gone there. We brought this rock. Prabhupada, complete nonsense. Prabhupada said, complete nonsense. How this type of rock, so-called moon rock, can reflect the sunlight so beautifully. So therefore, Prabhupada told us, therefore, they have not gone to the moon. That is, emphatically, Prabhupada said like this, well, all of us accepted the statement of Srila Prabhupada, obviously. And now it is 50 years ago, and they never made any publicity afterwards that they have gone again to the moon. If it is so important, so essential for mankind, at least they should have gone many times afterwards to make more and more discoveries and with their scientific instruments and so on, experiments. But they never went there again. So that means the first publicity released at that time was completely bogus. Moreover, nobody can go to a heavenly planet without qualification. What is this qualification of the astronauts? They are not particularly pious as to be able to go to heaven. So that is also another argument. They are not qualified. Their airplane or their rocket is not capable to go there. And then the moon is also very far away. They cannot reach the moon like this. So in this way, Prabhupada completely smashed this type of publicity. But Dhruva Maharaj very easily in this spiritual airplane can go to the entire universe up to the limit of the material universe and cross that limit and ultimately go to the spiritual planet of Sisumar or Dhruvaloka. So, Srila Prabhupada says that while boarding the Vaikuntha airplane, his body changed to a completely spiritual golden hue. So only with a spiritual body, one can go only to the spiritual world. One has to leave this material body, because that is not fit for that. And in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that Antakale chamameva smaran muktva kalevaram yap prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samsaya. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So it's a very important declaration of Lord Krishna, that if we at all want the perfection of life, going back home, back to Godhead, we must remember the Supreme Lord at the time of death. Then, if we can fix our mind at the time of death upon the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, then we are sure to achieve Him. Of this there is no doubt. So the very essential statement that we can take from Bhagavad Gita. Yap prayati samad bhavam yati. So here Dhruva Maharaj achieved a body that is equal in quality with the body of the Supreme Lord, and these associates of the Lord also, they came in spiritual body. So that is a transfer, or there is a transformation from material body to spiritual body that is possible only by remembrance of the Lord at the time of death. So this is what Dhruva Maharaj was constantly remembering the Supreme Lord throughout his tapasya, and certainly he was remembering the Supreme Lord when he saw this airplane coming. So for him, it was guaranteed that he could achieve the spiritual planet. And the purport to this Bhagavad Gita sloka 8.5. In this verse, the importance of Krishna consciousness is stressed. Anyone who quits his body in Krishna consciousness is at once transferred to the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the purest of the pure. Therefore, anyone who is constantly Krishna conscious is also the purest of the pure. The word smaran, remembering, is important. Remembrance of Krishna is not possible for the impure soul who has not practiced Krishna consciousness in devotional service. Therefore, one should practice Krishna consciousness from the very beginning of life. If one wants to achieve success at the end of his life, the process of remembering Krishna is essential. Therefore, one should constantly, incessantly chant the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this purport to the sloka, essential purport. We can read again and again this sloka and purport by Srila Prabhupada, and that will give us the enthusiasm to carry on our spiritual life according to the teachings of Lord Krishna and the former acharyas, including Srila Prabhupada. He stressed so much that one should constantly, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, constantly chanting the Mahamantra in a humble state of mind. Tunarapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. One should always chant the holy names of the Lord, always remembering Lord Krishna in a humble state of mind, so that when we, at the time of leaving the body, which can happen at any moment, one is ready to remember Lord Krishna, even though the condition may not be favorable. The body will be in a disease condition, and the mind will be completely unfit, distracted by so many other things. As Prabhupada gave so many examples of how the mind is distracting us at the time of death. A man is dying, and even though he has just a few moments to live, but he is asking his relatives, please call my sons, I have some instruction to give them for the business to go on. I have to give them instructions. So instead of fixing his mind on Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he is calling for his family members for his business. When he was, same person was in hospital, and the doctor told him, "Oh, you have only 3 months to live." So at that time, he also made so many arrangements for his business to go on. So in this way, we are preoccupied by so many things, and only in the association of other devotees, we develop the mind, a proper attitude of mind that will help us to remember the Lord at every step, including antakale chamam eva smaran, mukta kalevaram. That is most essential. So there is a movement called the art of living. But our movement could be called ISKCON Society, the art of dying. One can live, but what will happen at the time of death, that is very essential. That will determine our next destination. So if we live in Krishna consciousness, that is good. That is the art, the true art of living. But if we spend our life in sense gratification, that cannot be called the art of living. So one should know the art of living and the art of dying side by side. Both of them are important. So another, what's happened, one disciple went to his mother was dying, and of course this is a famous story. So the disciple is telling his mother, "Oh, my dear mother, now you are leaving us, you are leaving your body. Please chant Hare Krishna. Please chant Hare Krishna." And the mother is not educated in Krishna consciousness, and she is simply telling, "Chant. Chant. She is already speaking. Instead of telling some material vibration, she could easily chant Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. But as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, if one has impure mind, then he cannot remember Krishna at the time of death. Therefore, one must practice throughout life Krishna consciousness by always chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the essential teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and of Srila Prabhupada. Always to remember Krishna, chanting the holy names of the Lord. There is no rules. Anytime, anybody, anyhow, should chant the holy names. In this way, he'll become qualified to remember the Lord at the time of death. So this is the example of Dhruva Maharaj. He cultivated Krishna consciousness throughout his life, being trained up from beginning by his mother Suniti and Narada Muni. And then he could achieve perfection. So, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, every mother should be conscious that her child, her son especially, should receive training in Krishna consciousness from the young age of 5. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada instituted the Gurukul, just like first Gurukul in Dallas, Texas, and other Gurukuls in other parts of the world, so that the children of the disciples' children should receive this type of education from the beginning. That will make sure that their life is spent properly in Krishna consciousness. Even Lord Krishna also, when Lord Krishna went back to Mathura from Vrindavan, then his mother, Devaki, she considered, "Oh, my son, he could not get any spiritual training," so she sent him to Ujjain to receive training from Sandipani Muni along with Balaram. So even Lord Krishna, Balaram, they are the Supreme Lord. So they don't need any special training. But to give a proper example of how it is so important for the child to be trained at the beginning of life, Devaki sent Lord Krishna Balaram for spiritual training. And Lord Krishna followed all the proper etiquette of worshipping his spiritual master Sandipani Muni and his good wife, Guru Patni, and doing tapasya, for instance, going in the night in the forest and gathering wood for the yajna. And in this way, Lord Krishna and Balaram were best students, very good examples of perfect brahmacharis. So that is what Srila Prabhupada wanted to start, and in this way the young boys should have the opportunity to get this training from the beginning. So as Prabhupada mentions again in the purport, the benefit will be that if a son becomes a strong devotee, like Dhruva, certainly, not only will he be transferred back home, back to Godhead, but she, that is the mother, also will be transferred with him to the spiritual world. That is the transcendental arrangement that by the grace of the Lord, not only the person who has undergone severe tapasya throughout his life in Krishna consciousness, but the parents also can be benefited in the same manner if the children achieve perfection. Then the children, being Krishna conscious, can deliver one generation or maybe more, up to 7 generations of ancestors by the grace of the Lord. So we cannot calculate the benefits of Krishna consciousness from the material viewpoint. It is practically unlimited. Sometimes people are asking Prabhupada, Swamiji, what is the benefit of your ISKCON society? How can you benefit society in this way? By apparently separating your disciple from the mainstream. So they look like persons who are flying away from the mainstream. They are avoiding the society. But Srila Prabhupada wanted to express that they are the most responsible, these disciples who are engaged in Krishna consciousness. They show their best responsibility for the entire society by being an example. So in this way, the example of Dhruva Maharaj is most essential, and to this day we can take inspiration from this episode of Srimad Bhagavatam. Any other questions or comments? Hare Krishna. Yeah, it is a hoax. The moon landing hoax. They could not see anything. They could not see the moon inhabitants. They could not see all the wonderful heavenly cities and gardens on the moon. So certainly they have not gone there. They have no idea about the heavenly planets. They are not allowed to go there. They will never be allowed. Any other questions? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.